Welcome to another episode of our Midweek conversation at First Baptist Sweetwater, where we strive to be the first responders of God's love. My name's Jerry Hendricks. I'm here in Studio A with my good friend and softball champion, Teak Hamilton. Hi, Teak.
Hi, Jerry.
I noticed you've been carrying this thing with you all day.
All day long.
And so tell us about this. What do we have here?
This is our softball championship we won last night, the B-League championship. We're now, I don't know if you can say defending champions or not, because there was last year we didn't have a season.
Right.
So we're repeat, I guess.
Yeah, well, so it was a good night. We had lots of folks out there having fun, celebrating the win.
Yeah, it was fun. And Sammy crunched a grand slam. We're going to start calling it a grand Sammy instead of a grand slammy.
Well, you have sort of been the king of nicknames this year. So
Yes, I have.
That would be an appropriate one. You were telling me that story this morning, and
It was a great shot.
yeah. So it's a good end. I mean, a good final game and end of the season.
He did. Sorry, back to Sammy.
No,
If
Grand Slammy? Are you talking about
Grand
Slam?
Sammy.
Grand Sammy?
I've never hit a legit home run. And he hits a grand slam. If I did that, I would have learned to cartwheel around the bases. He jogs to first, cuts across the field, and then goes and leans up on the fence like he'd done it 1,000 times.
And
I was like,
it was his only home run of the year.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. And I was just like, if it was me, I'd been up in the deal asking if people wanted my autograph.
Well,
So, I guess there's a difference.
of
He
course,
knows
that
what he's
happens to
doing.
you a lot anyway.
Me.
Just because you're
I'm
so...
like, did you see me make that catch? Anybody want a signature?
No, it's more like, did you see these socks?
Oh, yeah, that is true. My socks make it hard to sneak to another base.
Well, yes, they do.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Well, those must have been your winning socks, because I think I saw them more than once.
You saw them every week.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
every year Stacy and I buy socks to match the shirt, but Stacy did not go with the green this year.
Well, Stacy.
I don't understand that. She said a coach had to look a
Was it
little more mature.
coaching decision?
Yeah, I think she said a coach had to look a little bit more mature in how they dress.
Well,
I don't know.
well, congratulations, Stacy, Coach Stacy.
Yep.
So we've got new faces for Stacy. Camp Stacy, Coach
Yep.
Stacy.
Yep, and after she has her thumb fixed, she'll be back to playing Stacy. So
She didn't like coaching.
I think she enjoyed being a part of the team, but I think she wanted to be out there. She enjoys that.
Yeah.
So she did ask me one day, said, "So do we need to have more girls?" And I said, "Well, we got 3 that'll be there." Well, I guess y'all can just put me out there if you have to, and I can just catch it if I have to. And I was like, yeah, she wants to. So I think she missed it, but she might not tell us that.
Well, I know I have a feeling that we'll hear something from her.
That is true. That is true.
Congratulations, Stacy, and welcome back.
Way to go, Coach.
Yeah, and so we've had a good weekend of worship, a good weekend. You had a good weekend, got some time away.
Mm-hmm. We were up in Broken Bow, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We're there for the weekend, and then Wednesday after church we went to Cache, Oklahoma, and went to the National Wildlife Refuge there and did some hiking, and so it was good.
Yeah. Well, Teak doesn't leave often, but when he does,
He goes to Oklahoma.
Often he goes hiking. So
Yes.
there's that.
Yeah. Or as you say, walking with a stick.
I do call it walking.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this time it was like dangerous hiking.
Oh, well.
There were bison.
Yeah.
They're big.
Okay, so.
But we're smart. We stay away from them. We're not like some of them.
Well, you are experienced hikers.
Yes. We at least think we are. It's interesting. You go and you take off, and we've got our backpacks with our water in it and everything, and it's a Camelback, so you can drink it while you're hiking and all that, and you got all this water. And then you'll see somebody on the same trail, and they've got one little bottle of water. And you look at them and go, you're the kind of person that they call out the people like the park rangers to come rescue because you didn't pay attention that you need water. It might feel good, but you're about to do a lot of elevation. You need water. And so, we look at them and judge them.
Right. Well, speaking of judging them,
Yes.
that's kind of what we talked about Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah. And that was not a planned segue.
No, it was not, because I didn't get to see much of the service.
Yeah. Well,
It was a little spotty.
yeah. So that happens sometime, I
Yep.
hear. This week we started a new series, and a shout out to our worship planning team for the table decoration that helped convey our theme. We're talking about the book of James, and really one of the theme words that jumped out of that in reading, I guess in the message that I did in August was the word authentic.
Right.
That really James sets up talking about an authentic faith, and his book's very practical, pretty straightforward, but covers some issues that are worth our consideration. Sometimes I think we get pretty, or can become casual in regard to some of the things in our life that are outside of just disciplines of faith. Right. Just more how we live our life and before others, I guess.
I don't know if we've said this, but during camp this year, Russell talked about like the family of Jesus and talked about James a couple times.
Right.
About how he goes from being the one that thinks Jesus is crazy to writing, part of the Bible, or
right.
what ends up being part of the Bible. And so thinking about it in terms of James being related to Jesus, that's even more interesting. Yeah,
it is a very interesting book, and we've said this several times, but I've never preached through or preached any verses from James until this fall. We had the first message on August 29th, and then that's when I decided to continue with the series once we got finished or got through with our launch period. And so Sunday we jumped into that, and it's been really good. One of the things that he talks about, and what we talked about Sunday, was just talking about how we treat people, and really the thought that we shared Sunday revolved around the words prejudice and favoritism. He uses the word favoritism in Scripture, but as it turns out, the word used there is a pretty hard word to describe and put into context, into our context.
Right.
And he talked about how that can infiltrate the church in ways, and something that we want to keep in check in the way that we treat people inside and outside the church.
Right. Yeah, that happens a lot with the original language, that they'll have like a word that means something, but it's hard to translate into our language and get them to understand. It's like love has 3 or 4 different words in the original language, and we just translate it as love.
Right.
And you're like, ugh.
Well, in most translations, we see the word favoritism.
Right.
And I think, one of the things that I was working through in trying to think best how I might be able to communicate that is that, probably the word favoritism is a word that we don't feel like we're guilty of.
Right.
For the most part. You talk about prejudice, or the word snobbery, or snobby was used also. I think most people would kind of give in a little bit on those, that there's on those occasions, or you can talk about and bring up their pet subject or topic of where they get all judgy. And so one of the things I was hoping to do was to try to capture our attention into this possibility that all of us have some area where we show prejudice or demonstrate prejudice. And I think, and we've talked about this in our future church meeting, I mentioned it in the message on Sunday, that we just live in a time, and I'm hoping it's a season that will soon segue into something that's a little more kind. But, we're in a season where it's really, it's hard to, I think the way I've said it is, it's hard to find alignment on nearly anything with people now, and it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
I know when I used the words some time ago about being wise toward outsiders, and this, I believe, for Christians, this is a time that calls for wisdom in the way that we live our life and act out our life. That is a life that, to some degree or another, is going to be public. Yeah,
because people are always watching, and they're waiting for us to mess up, to not live out what we preach, and then they're going to gun at that as well. They should. I mean, we do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think it's the parts to that now have become multiplied and so divisive that it makes that challenge even greater.
It's the whole log and the speck, the log in your eye, speck in your own eye. There's so often that we can point, and we forget there's something in our own eyes. There's something we're doing that's just as bad, if not worse.
Right. I know in thinking through this, it kind of a part of when I first started getting into the commentaries and stuff, I did think of my student ministry days where favoritism takes a bit of a different tone sometimes. I don't know, do you still see that or experience that sometime in student ministry?
When you said favoritism, my first thought was like the middle child always knows which one's the favorite. And
I'm the middle child.
Well, so you always know who was the parent's favorite. I mean, the favoritism, it comes off a little bit easier than what prejudice does.
Right.
Like, we kind of look at favoritism as kind of a funny word, or you can soften it, but prejudice comes across a lot stronger, and it's easier to say, well, I'm not prejudiced, but it's, I might have favorites, but I'm not prejudiced, and so.
It's something I do hear occasionally from student ministers as they experience that, the backlash of that from students in some way. And I always felt like it was an unfair response. I always would tell people, not everyone, I don't have my favorites, but not everyone wants to hang out with me.
Right.
I'm not sure what I think of those kids that did want to hang out with me at the time. But another one of our friends, mutual friends, Wes Henson, his phrase for the favoritism is, you're in my top 3.
Yep. Only one time has he ever said top 4 to a student.
Is that right?
Yep.
I think
it was
What's
to
the story?
Whitney.
Oh.
I think he told Whitney one time she was top 4 after he told it for the entire ministry and said, you're top 3, you're top 3, you're top 3. And then one day he told her she was top 4.
Oh. Shout out to Whitney.
Good luck, Whitney.
Yeah. So all of us, in ministry, we've dealt with this, and it's a reality to some degree at some point. I think in the adult world and adult ministry, we may not use those words, but I think we sometimes feel slighted in certain ways, right. And we still kind of look for that. And so the work that we try to do in the church is to be loving to everyone and equitable and right. objective, and try to stay on mission together.
Well, and we've never turned somebody down.
Yeah.
Someone says, hey, I want to go do this. Hey, can I go eat with you? We don't say no.
Right.
I mean...
Well, I think the thing that has stood out recently is just the idea that unity bears itself out in love. And so if we do become first responders of God's love, then we're going to find ourselves living in unity,
right.
living in more harmony, and the whole subjects of things like favoritism are the subject that we're bringing up this week, as far as the way we use our words and controlling, it says taming the tongue, or controlling the things
right.
that we say, having some kind of filter, with how we express ourselves. So a lot of good stuff from the book of James. I'm looking forward to kind of walking through these next passages. I've shared Sunday that it's been a challenge personally, and I think if those of you who are following us or reading along with us, you'll find it a bit of a personal challenge as well as you go from week to week and listen to some of the different things that James is outlining for how we might demonstrate an authentic faith and live an authentic life. So it's been a good week, winning a championship, getting some vacation time, looking forward to a weekend of worship. So it's good to have you here, and thanks for bringing the trophy.
There's like 132 college football teams that will not hoist the trophy this year, and we hoisted it.
You are so correct.
Yep.
Congratulations, folks. We thank you for letting us be a part of your week this week, and look forward to being a part of your weekend.
See ya.